My mother practically begged me to come back for the holidays. My name is Elena Brooks. I'm 31 years old, and for reasons I still don't fully understand, I convinced myself that this Christmas might finally be different. She called me in Berlin at nearly 3:30 in the morning, crying into the camera, saying things like, "We never see you anymore," and "The family just isn't complete without you here." She talked about how my nieces missed me, how it would mean everything if I came home just once. Against my better judgment, I booked the ticket. 10 miserable hours in the air, 2 layovers, a phone battery that died halfway through the journey. I arrived at my parents' house in Phoenix, exhausted, stiff, and smelling like recycled airplane air, dragging a suitcase stuffed with presents I'd bought for my sister's kids. I rang the doorbell, stupidly hoping for a warm hug, the kind she used to give me when I was little. The door swung open. No welcome home, no how was your flight, no hug. My mom glanced at my suitcase and said, flatly, "Good, you're here. You'll watch the kids while we're gone." Before I could even process that, my sister's husband stepped into the doorway with sunglasses still on, a gym bag slung over his shoulder, the kids hanging off his arms. "Careful," he joked loudly. "Don't wipe your noses on Aunt Elena, she just flew in." Everyone laughed. My parents, my sister, even the kids. I stood there, jet-lagged, sore, thousands of dollars poorer from a flight I paid for, realizing I wasn't a guest. I was the help. Something inside me went quiet. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I smiled, set my suitcase down, and said one calm sentence. That was all it took. The laughter stopped instantly. Faces drained of color. My mom kept whispering, "No, no, that's not happening." By the time I finished speaking, their holiday trip was over. Their finances were exposed, and I was done being their unpaid nanny and emergency credit card. And to understand why that one sentence shattered the room, you need to know what they'd been doing to me for years. My mom didn't call because she missed me. 2 weeks earlier, she'd already sent me screenshots of luxury holiday packages they could never afford. She hinted heavily that if I helped just a little, everything would work out. Just this once. That phrase had followed me for a decade. When my dad needed surgery, I wired money. When my sister and her husband ran up credit cards on a failed business idea, I helped consolidate the debt. When the mortgage fell behind, I covered it. When the water heater died, I paid. Meanwhile, I lived modestly in a small apartment overseas, cooking at home, walking to work, while still paying for streaming services, phone plans, and surprise emergencies in a house I didn't even live in. This time, though, I paid attention. Before booking my flight, I saved every transfer, every payment receipt, every text promising we'll pay you back soon. And then I noticed something else. An email from a bank with my name on a mortgage I never remembered agreeing to. Years ago, they had added me as a co-borrower just for paperwork. Ever since, I'd been quietly covering shortfalls. So while my mom cried about missing me, I sat on my bed staring at my banking app, realizing the only time I mattered was when a bill was due. I almost canceled the trip. Instead, I booked the flight and a meeting with a financial advisor. When I arrived, their itinerary was laid out on the kitchen counter like a glossy dream. Resort photos, flights, family package in bold letters. My mom tapped the brochure. "This is why we needed you here," she said. "You'll stay with the kids so we can finally relax." I recognized the confirmation number. It was charged to my card. I smiled and asked everyone to sit down so we could go over a few things. Then I opened my laptop. I calmly pulled up a spreadsheet. Dates, amounts, notes. 3 years of financial truth. Mortgage shortfalls, credit card bailouts, utilities, car repairs, subscriptions, gas money, groceries, just until Friday. I scrolled slowly. "In the last 36 months, I said quietly, "I've sent this household over $60,000. No one spoke. I placed a simple agreement on the table. It's not a lawsuit, it's acknowledgement that this money was not a gift. Then I showed them the reservation screen. Status: canceled.
"I canceled the trip," I said. "It was booked on my account." My dad stood up in anger. "You had no right." I replied, "They were my payments, so yes, I did." Then I showed them the mortgage email and introduced them via video call to my financial advisor. She explained what being a co-borrower meant and what happens when someone stops covering debt they don't benefit from. Silence filled the room. I ended the call, handed them formal notice that I was ending all automatic payments, and packed my suitcase. My dad told me not to come back. So I didn't. That night, I went to my own place, a small condo I'd bought quietly months earlier. No one knew. It wasn't fancy. It was peaceful. For the first time in years, my phone was silent. No emergency texts, no guilt, no panic. Just quiet. A week later, my dad posted on Facebook about being abandoned by an ungrateful daughter. People sympathized. I didn't respond. The truth doesn't need to shout. Months passed. Bills came due. Reality caught up. My sister downsized. My mom sold things. My dad stopped posting. And eventually, my mom showed up at my door with a check. Not much, but honest. "I'm sorry," she said. "We used you." That mattered more than the money. That Christmas, I stayed home. No flights, no babysitting, no guilt. Just peace. And here's what I learned. Family doesn't mean unlimited access to your life, your money, or your future. People who love you will respect your boundaries. People who only loved what you provided will call you selfish when you stop. And sometimes choosing yourself isn't abandonment. It's survival.
The first real sign that my absence mattered didn't come from a phone call. It came from social media. About a week after I settled into my condo, my friend Nora sent me a screenshot with one short message. "Have you seen this?" It was my father's Facebook page. A long post, dramatic, carefully worded to make him look wounded and noble. He didn't mention my name, but he didn't need to. He wrote about how some children forget who raised them the moment they get a high-paying job overseas, about how family means nothing to this generation, about how he and my mother were left with nothing right before Christmas. The final line said, "Pray for us." The comments flooded in. People I'd known since childhood, neighbors, old family friends. "So heartbreaking. You gave her everything. Kids today are so selfish. If she won't help, start a fundraiser. We'll share it." I felt sick. This was exactly what I warned them about. For a moment, I paced my living room with my phone in my hand, heart racing. Part of me wanted to drive straight back, confront him, beg him to stop twisting the story. The old version of me, the fixer, was screaming to jump in and clean it up. Instead, I opened my laptop, and I emailed my financial advisor. I told her about the post, about the years of quiet financial support, about how my family was now presenting themselves as helpless victims. Her response was calm, professional, and grounding. She told me to document everything, save every transfer, every message, every receipt. Then she said something that stopped me cold. When one person has been unofficially supporting a household while that household claims hardship, it's appropriate for institutions to review the situation. I didn't need instructions. I just needed reassurance that I wasn't imagining how wrong this had all been. The next few weeks were quiet for me, not for them. Letters started arriving at my parents' house. I didn't see them, but my mother's frantic texts told me enough. "Did you contact the bank? They want updated income documents. There's something from the tax office and I'm panicking." I hadn't contacted anyone directly. I had simply stopped lying for them. Without my payments filling the gaps, the system was finally seeing the truth. My brother-in-law, Mark, was the first to crack. He asked to meet me at a cafe near my building. When he walked in, he looked exhausted. Dark circles, delivery bag over his shoulder, none of the smug confidence he had at the door that night. He didn't waste time. "Dad needs to stop posting," he said, rubbing his face. "It's making everything worse." Then, quieter, You did something, didn't you? The letters, the calls. I stirred my coffee slowly. What I did was stop pretending. He stared at the table. Then he admitted he'd picked up extra shifts, sold electronics, moved the kids into one room so they could downsize. It sucks, he said, but for the first time I actually see what things cost. Groceries, gas, childcare. I never really looked before. I just knew if it got bad enough, someone would text you. That hurt more than any insult. Meanwhile, my mother started selling things. Designer bags she once bragged about online, home decor she didn't need, jewelry she claimed was too sentimental to part with. The brand new television disappeared from their living room, replaced by an old one from the garage. Then came the tow truck. Their SUV was repossessed early one gray morning, the same kind of situation they used to whisper about when it happened to other people. Now it was their driveway. My father never called. Not once. He kept posting vague messages online about betrayal and loyalty, hoping guilt would do what reason couldn't. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself publicly. I didn't need to. I had distance. I had documentation, and my credit, finally, was untangling from theirs. If anyone had seen even one page of my spreadsheet, they wouldn't be asking why I walked away. They'd be asking how I stayed so long. By the time Christmas came again, everything looked different. I decorated my small condo slowly. Second-hand couch, cheap tree, mismatched ornaments. Nothing fancy. Everything mine. Then one evening there was a knock on my door. When I checked the peephole, my stomach dropped. It was my mother. She looked smaller somehow, tired, no makeup, hair pulled back, holding a reusable grocery bag like a shield. I let her in. She stood in the middle of my living room, looking around quietly. "I always pictured you living somewhere bigger," she said softly. I shrugged. "This is what I can afford when I'm not supporting 2 households." She flinched. Then she pulled an envelope from the bag. Inside was a check. Not much, but real. "It's from selling things," she said quickly, "and extra shifts. I know it's not enough, but I couldn't pretend anymore." She sat down and cried, not dramatically, just quietly. "We used you. I did." That was the first honest thing she had said in years. When she left, I didn't cash the check right away. I just needed to see the direction change. That Christmas Eve night, I sat alone in my condo with a mug of hot chocolate, lights blinking softly. No flights, no babysitting schedules, no emergency transfers. Just silence and peace. After my mother left that night, the apartment felt different. Not emptier, quieter. The kind of quiet that doesn't demand anything from you. I placed the envelope with the check in a drawer and didn't touch it for days. Not because I didn't need the money, but because for once the amount didn't matter. What mattered was that it was the first time in my life my family had acknowledged that the support was never automatic and never free. Christmas passed without drama. No calls from my father, no guilt-filled messages, no late-night emergencies. Just a calm, ordinary day that felt almost unfamiliar. And I realized something, uncomfortable but freeing. I wasn't sad. I was relieved. In January, my father finally tried to reach me, not with an apology, with anger. He left a voicemail accusing me of turning my back on the family, of embarrassing him, of choosing money over blood. He said I'd made him look weak and that people were asking questions he didn't want to answer. He never once mentioned the bills, or the years of help, or the fact that I'd quietly held that household together while he took credit for stability. I deleted the message. Not out of spite, out of clarity. A few weeks later, my mother called. Her voice was softer now, less defensive. She told me they'd refinanced the house on their own. The payments were higher, life was tighter, but it was real. No more pretending, she said. Your father doesn't like it, but I can't live in denial anymore. I listened. I didn't offer money. I didn't offer solutions. And for the first time, she didn't ask. My brother-in-law texted occasionally, short updates, extra shifts, budgeting, learning the hard way. Once he wrote, I never understood how much pressure you were under until it was gone. I'm sorry. I stared at that message longer than I expected. Then I replied, just don't pass it on to your kids. That was enough. Spring came quietly. My life started filling with things that had nothing to do with crisis management. I focused on my work, took on projects I'd been too distracted to accept before, decorated my condo properly, bought a real couch, hung framed photos instead of leaning them against the wall. I started sleeping better, laughing more, saying no without rehearsing an explanation. I didn't cut my family off completely. I just stopped sacrificing myself to keep them comfortable. And something surprising happened. The people who genuinely wanted a relationship adapted. The ones who only wanted access drifted away. It clarified everything. By the time the next holiday season approached, I received a simple message from my mother. Dinner. No money talk, no expectations, just food. You're welcome if you want. I sat with that message for a long time. Then I replied, I'll think about it. And I meant it. I used to believe loyalty meant endurance, that love meant absorbing damage quietly, that being a good daughter meant never letting the people you love feel the consequences of their choices. I was wrong. Real love survives boundaries. Real family doesn't collapse when you stop bleeding for it. If you're listening to this and feeling that familiar knot in your chest, the one that comes from being needed only when something is broken, hear this. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not cruel for stepping away. And you are not abandoning anyone by refusing to drown for them. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop being the solution and start being a person.